Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well in this unique time in our lives. I'm Goldy. I'm a startup community builder from the Philippines. I'm a huge fan of entrepreneurs and innovators and truly believe that they are the catalysts to making this world better. And so it's very important to support them and help them grow professionally and personally as they build groundbreaking solutions to market and to society. So I'm very privileged to be invited by Ginger for her birthday project, Love the Leap, which is such a great initiative to gather women together, to share their experiences and insights, share that to the world, and hopefully inspire each other and help each other um, get grounded and connected with our life experiences. So yeah, looking forward to share. I don't consider myself an expert, but there's some things along the way that I've learned in supporting entrepreneurs and building startup communities that I'd like to share with you today. So let's get to it. First, I have notes here because I'm an introvert, so better to be prepared. Um, First is the importance of facilitating connection. Um, and it's not just the yoga teacher in me that talks about the importance of connection, but it is such a crucial ingredient in cultivating strong, robust innovation ecosystems. By helping connect people, we're facilitating and helping them solve each other's problems, whether that be um, a founder's challenge to find the right advice for a certain predicament, or support in accessing or connecting to possible customers or validators or talent to boost their teams. Connection is very, very important. So, it's not just for people like me, it's actually for everyone, right? The, connect each other and help each other solve problems. So I think that's pretty important. Um, Another thing is, in innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystems, it's important to note that the real leaders here are the entrepreneurs and people like us, programs that support startups, um, mentors, etc. We're feeders, so um, the founder's success is our success and our collective success, right? So yeah, it's a pretty important thing to note and take a long-term view on things. And these are the small everyday things that um, we can do and we can imbibe to add to that collective long-term goal of having a community that is agile and can solve gripping, urgent, important problems in this world. Um, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that today. Um, Second is the importance of being open, right? It's life is just so full of learning, right? So goes the concept of creative destruction, where the most compelling solutions of the past don't necessarily translate to be the most relevant solutions today. And so it's important to keep abreast of what's going on. Problems evolve, so solutions evolve. And that's a wonderful thing about innovation, right? Is that, with knowledge capital, everybody has a chance, an opportunity to solve those problems. And I guess it's also, on the flip side, but while there is a lot of uncertainty that comes with it, like especially in this time in our lives, it's also a lesson that like what is certainty? What are guarantees, right? But it's also within us to kind of reframe the situation and say, this is an opportunity to look at where we can come in terms of what people need, what the community needs, what the world needs, and what I have in me, what my assets are, and how I can kind of plug into that. So I think it's important to cultivate that openness, not just among founders, but of course, among each other, and of course, uh, to oneself, right? To be open to new ideas and concepts, to business models, platforms. There's just so many things that evolve and keep on changing. So yeah. Um, Third is being open and truly valuing the power of diversity. Um, what do I mean by that? Um, Working with startups and meeting them at this unique time where they're, it's forming a team, figuring out their product market fit, figuring out how they can uniquely solve that problem and build their defensibilities. It's very important to get a unique set of people with really diverse skill sets to be able to cover the critical bases that's needed to get stuff up and running, right? So it's not just enough that there's the business development person, right? Because if there's no product person to build product, then there's no business to develop around that. And that's the same thing with the flip side, right? So it's being open to that diversity in thought and allowing that the power of that diversity to reach a common ground. So, that might have been an example of diversity in terms of skill sets, but it's also being open and being up for the challenge of harnessing diversity and perspectives in backgrounds. It's not the easiest thing to get people in a room with like really, really different points of view, but for sure there will be so much learning, and the idea is that we're going to be able to bring out the best in each other, to challenge each other's assumptions, and make that a learning opportunity. So I think that really truly is the value of diversity, and being open to that, right? It doesn't mean that if there is someone in the room who doesn't agree with your view, or who takes on a different view, that's a bad thing. Being able to take on that perspective, that it is actually a good thing, I think that's the critical, powerful part of being able to build great teams, great ecosystems and communities. So yeah, diversity fosters original thinking too, right? And we do need originals, we do need innovators to solve gripping, evolving problems and challenges. So pretty important stuff. The fourth thing that I want to share is the importance of learning and continuous learning, right? There's this concept of, if in big business, there's this concept of lean Six Sigma, where you streamline your operations and your error rate, you keep it to a minimum, so it's like almost complete perfection, right, in your manufacturing, assembly line, etc. There's this concept in the startup world that's called the lean startup, right? So limited resources, you want to validate an idea and see if you can create a business around it. And so there's, basically three things you do: you build, you measure, you learn, right? So um, it's basically like the scientific method. It's experimental thinking, right? You build something, you observe how it performs, and regardless of whether that performance is a success and meets your criteria or your hypothesis, or it doesn't, there's insight to be gathered there. And that's why it's called learning, right? Even if the experiment is not a success, it's not necessarily considered a failure. No failure in, I guess, in the startup mindset is fatal, because that experience or going through that that process has allowed us to be able to learn from that, take what worked, and scale more of that, take what does not work, scrap that, or improve that. And it's that iterative thinking, of constantly building, measuring, and learning, um, that for me is what makes being in the innovation space truly exciting, because you always learn something new every day from other people's experiences, from my own experiences, and learning from each other, as we build on how to continually improve. So yeah, uh, learning. The fifth thing that I want to share, second to the last, um, is the importance of digging deep, right? So there's this concept in econ, like the Pareto principle, right? Where it's, 20% of what you do brings you 80% of the value, right? Or like I've had a stint before where like truly it was that like 20% of your customer base, like that segment brings 80% of the value. And it's very interesting to see. But where I'd like to draw on here is, again, like working with startup founders, um, you're catching them at a time in their business where teams are very lean. And so it's very important to be doing the right things, to be focusing on the right things. And so it's important supporting entrepreneurs to provide spaces for them, to hold spaces for them where they are not only allowed but empowered to dig deep, to figure out what's truly important, right? And so, for example, I currently work with the largest committed private investors network in the Philippines, and one of the common questions, one of the most asked questions that they would throw at startups who pitch to the group is, what's your moat, what's your defensibility, right? So a startup, you know, has to have a competitive advantage, or has to have uh, something, a secret sauce that makes it unique and therefore not easy to imitate. Because it is a different business model. It's not something that you just license or franchise. You're trying to prove something new and disruptive to a certain market, to a certain vertical, industry vertical, for example. So it's important to dig deep, and enable founders to ask these important questions. And I don't think that it's necessarily limited to entrepreneurship. I think it can be something that we can apply to our careers, our projects, right? To dig deep into what is essential, what is important, so we can kind of turn the big boulders and help us achieve what we've set out to achieve. Because sometimes there's just so many things happening, and the default kind of mindset is that we go on autopilot, and like, and then when we take a step back, we think, oh, have we achieved like what we set out to achieve? So yeah, it's enabling each other, holding space for each other to take a step back and to dig deep. I think it's very important. And yeah, one last thing that I want to share, which I think is super, super important. It's a very much used hashtag, I would say, but I think it's very important to prioritize self-care. And self-care doesn't have to look a certain way, right? It's really depending on the person. For some others, it's sweating it out. Sometimes it's having alone time. Sometimes it's taking a walk. Sometimes it's eating your favorite dessert, or something like a ritual that's really truly for you, or for me, some a ritual that allows us to refill our cup, so that when we support others and when we help others, we come from a place that is full. We don't get burnt out easily, which, among community builders, it is a conversation, right? Burnout is real. But the work is important. The work is long term. And so it's important to come refreshed and invigorated in being able to support people, communities, and ecosystems. So um, again, I'm very grateful to be able to share this with all of you. Thank you, Ginger. Happy birthday. I truly, truly hope and wish that everyone is well, that we're all able to derive inspiration from each other, deep connections, and I wish you well in your growth journey. All the best.